And we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of Blazing Banter with your host, Fire Steve. Today, we're going into Actually, first, before we kick off here, and before I introduce my wonderful guest, everyone's going to notice that we're going to be doing a bit of a format change with the podcast here. And it's funny because actually tomorrow's episode is going to come out on the Tuesday as normal, but going forward, the podcasts are just going to kind of come out as they come out because I found that sticking to a schedule is hard with the life that I live. So we're just going to go, and this is why it's very important to hit that notification icon, whether you're checking us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the places. You hit that notification bell when the new podcast pops up. You'll see it pop up because now as I record them, just going to post them. So 1 week you might get 3 podcasts and you might not get a podcast for 3 weeks. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, on today's episode, we have my wonderful guest, Mrs. Emma Stone. Welcome in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. We are on the big episode number 10. We've hit double digits. So congrats.
Wow. Just going to throw it out there. Episode 100. I'm willing to come back.
I definitely will have to bring you back. I think we'll have you back a few times in between there, most likely.
But no, it's going to be, I want 100, 1,000, 10,000 if we get that far. I want all those fucking golden numbers.
We're hitting all the exponents of 10. So
I mean, I've already got plans in the work for 100. I'm going to have to be at home for that one because since I'm out in the field, I couldn't wear my full pickle costume like I wanted to today.
That is so true. You've got that pickle costume. When I seen my happy birthday message come through and you're wearing the pickle costume and it's like ode to my pickle, I was rolling laughing at the whole thing. Oh, did I lose you?
I lost you for a sec, but then it caught up.
It's just like doing a live stream. Sometimes it does the whole thing where it's buffering.
Yeah.
At least typically when I post these, all that stuff smooths itself out for some reason.
Nice. That's awesome.
Anyway, I was saying, I'm like, yeah, the pickle costume and you making the happy birthday videos and stuff like that was, basically big shout out to the pickle, which was freaking hilarious.
Yeah. Gotta arrange like a pickle convention one day.
just be I'm trying to think of a P word to go with the pickles. It was gonna be like a whole myriad of pickles, but I'm like, I drew a blank. I'm like a whole potato sack of pickles. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, a plethora of pickles.
A plethora of pickles. There we go. We're vibing. We're making sense. And you found the pickle costume at the thrift shop, right?
Yes, I did at Goodwill.
Nice.
Which I love because fuck Valley Village. If I'm not
okay. I don't disagree with you there, but I found this wonderful Uncle Burger shirt at a Valley Village.
I know, it's bittersweet because I still go there, but I hate how much they mark it up. It's ridiculous. And honestly, it's like, oh, we'll give you 20% off if you get a whole bag. Just fucking make it reasonable priced.
Absolutely. The whole thing where thrift shops began in the first place was, to help people who, were looking for cheaper alternatives to find. And if they're starting to get comparable with going to a store, and maybe it's on top of the line name brand stuff, but I mean, if you can buy a pair of jeans at Walmart or, even Warehouse One for the same cost as you're going to get it at Valley Village, it's kind of like, well, something's not right here.
Yeah.
It's always a discovery thing when you go in, and I find there's different thrift shops are better than others. Like when we went to the one in Vernon, that one was like, holy crap, everything was marked up hard and there wasn't a lot there. But I find we hit the one in St. Albert quite a bit, and I mean, I think this shirt was still like $9, $10, something like that. So not terrible, but I mean, for somebody's shirt that they probably got for free for working at A&W.
Yeah, definitely. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that probably reasonably $3, $5 max.
Yeah. Yeah, like if you would go to somebody's garage sale, and like, I mean, I've gone to garage sales and, you know, they've got a whole table of clothes. And the whole point of the garage sales, we just want to get rid of this stuff. We want to get rid of
Yeah.
it. And, you know, so it's like, yeah, I'll give you $5 for this, you know, 5 outfits. Okay, whatever. I don't want to
Yeah.
pack it back in the house anyway.
Yeah, totally. I mean, next up would have been the donation center anyways. So
Well, and that's ultimately, I think the big thing now is nobody's doing garage sales anymore. You still get some people, but it's just like, okay, the time that it takes to like put it together, and it's like I don't have that many things to sell that are of like decent value for me to justify wasting my day sitting out there. So I'll you know, and then it's like, okay, then there's marketplace, but
oh
marketplace
my
is a freaking
God.
dumpster fire.
Yeah. Marketplace is literally something else. Like, I really like the one guy on TikTok who goes through and he's like actual conversations of people in marketplace. And it's like the most ridiculous requests ever. And you're like, yeah.
Oh,
I think
no,
there needs to be more. Have you heard of the share sheds at dumps?
yeah, we have. I've seen them. Yeah,
They need to have more of those.
yeah. Well, because then it's like, okay, you drop something off, you find something. It's just there. It's the community trading and exchanging stuff that can be of use that isn't, you know, fit for the dump, but it makes way more sense. Because yeah, like it's always marketplace wasn't bad when it first started, but then I think over time it became a thing of like, oh hey, I'm interested. Okay, cool. Do you want to come get it? And then nothing. Then you're like, okay, I guess I'm gonna message the next person. Oh, I'm interested in this thing. And then it's like, okay, are you coming to get it now? Well, I'm waiting for my friend with a truck. And it's like, well, I thought you said you were coming to get it now. Well, just excuse after excuse. It's like, I'm throwing it out. I don't care anymore.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Just a little bit, but we got there.
Dang internet. We're both on Starlink, and I don't know if you've had any major issues with yours. I find here in camp sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's just like buffering.
Yeah, definitely. It's weird because originally I was like, oh, Starlink. And it's like after coming off of I remember like if I got the Blue Arrow password from like the cell tower, that internet, I was like, oh, I got the internet, guys. I got the internet. But that was like they weren't really handing out that password. And now across location you have fucking 5 different Starlinks.
Exactly. Everybody and their dog has one nowadays. I find like you pass by so many of them on the highway now. Like everyone's got them on their trucks, and it's like,
Yeah, just fucking screwed on in the box of their truck. I'm like, I mean, why not?
I thought about it at one point, but I couldn't justify it. I'm like, I'm not that far out of service to like justify it. I'm usually around like either at camp or at the plant at my office. I've got internet in both ends, and then my dad
Yeah.
is pretty decent for the most part. But if
Yeah.
you're working in an area where there's like no coverage whatsoever, you know, you're sitting at one bar, half a bar. It's like, yeah, that's where it really comes in handy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I know
like
it's so
anything,
funny talking to people and they're like, oh, I read so many books when I was on jobs. And I'm like, man, I got so distracted by doom scrolling. I
oh,
need to pick up a book.
you need to put the phone down and grab a book. But it's like, oh,
Yeah.
but the notifications, and then it's like, oh, I'll check my message, and then I'll put my, and then well, you check a message, and then it's like, oh, I'll watch a video, and then I'll watch another video, and then, well, now it's been 3 hours later.
Yeah, especially with like now I have my phone unlocked with my face. So I go to check the time and it's like, hey, what's up? We're open. Have you checked TikTok?
I tried it at one point. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put all my like social media apps at the back end of my phone thinking like, okay, like I have to like think about scrolling over to get to them. And it slowed me down for like a little bit. And then I'm like, I just found that I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go do this. My phone's open. I'm like, well, I'll check it quick. I posted a video here, an hour ago. And it's like, I'm checking to see, and it's like, oh, you got 2 new notifications. Oh, sweet. And then you close the phone, and then well, I wonder what it's at now. And then you check it again. It's like, okay, it's another 2. It's like, okay. But you get in that habit of just checking and rechecking.
Yep. That's why all of us, our attention spans are so freaking small.
Absolutely. Like I feel that it's definitely gotten worse. I feel like I mean I was a squirrely person as it was. It's definitely gotten worse with being on social media. And I don't know if you noticed that yourself too, or if you were always more, squirrel before.
Yeah, no, I'm like, oh, I should do this. And then it's so easy to get distracted, especially like, because it's like, okay, I'm trying to monetize on social media. And it's like, oh, I'm making a TikTok, but really I didn't need to make that TikTok. And then I have this picture in my head. So I spend half hour looking for a fucking picture. And then I'm like, that wasn't what I was going to do. But in my head, I justify it as like, oh, I'm actually doing some work. I'm like,
Well,
uh,
and that's the thing. The whole point of social media is being in front of people. And that's the thing. Okay, well, we need to be out there, and you need to put more stuff out. I've definitely noticed though. Like I find TikTok now, like it used to be like you could flood it with videos before, and things would just do what they're gonna do. Now I find if you hit it with too many videos, nothing does much of anything because it's still trying to. It seems like it takes longer for a video to like get out there and start engaging with people.
yeah. Yeah, it's freaking silly how the algorithms are these days.
And just when a person you think you've got it figured out, you're like, okay, I think I got it. And then you start doing the thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, we're changing. And then you're like, okay, I guess I got to learn something new now.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw one creator that said TikTok changes their focus like seasonally, like 4 times a year. They try and change their algorithm. And I'm like, oh, that would make sense.
It does. I also heard something too where like you got to think of what people are doing as well. Because I know I was watching something, it was the end of summer last year, and they're like, yeah, have you been noticing your views have been down, not as much engagement? And they're like, just wait. People are, things are about to get colder. Kids are going back to school. People are going to have more time to sit on the phone, because they're not out vacationing. They're not out doing summer break shit. They're
Yeah.
getting back to their normal day to day, whatever. So then you'll see an uptick when, especially too, I mean, being in Canada, once winter hits, nobody's outside. I mean, you get some people with snowmobiling, stuff like that, but for the vast majority of people, not everybody's at the lake.
Yeah.
Unless you're ice fishing.
There's a lot less people ice fishing than there is swimming.
Exactly. So that's one thing that I heard is like, hey, it's just the behavior of people. And that's what I've kind of modeled my stuff, trying to figure out, okay, when are people going to watch something? Like, when am I sitting doing not much of anything? And I found it depended on the type of video I was making. Like certain ones I find if I post like informational shit first thing in the morning, that stuff does well then. But if I post it like later at night when people are like, I'm just trying to fall asleep, I don't want to like get into something. Yeah. What works better at night is like quick, 10-15 second video, whether it's funny or, just something that, gets people going or whatever, just, because they're going to be watching that as they're tuning out. Or actually, I think I fell asleep watching some random video last night. What's some of the, as far as social medias, which one has been the most difficult for you to crack? Like, which one have you found has been like kind of the one where you've had the most issue to get traction on? Or have they all been pretty consistent?
They've all been difficult in their own ways.
Right.
But I think like I probably put the most focus into TikTok because that's just the one I'm most comfortable with. Because I feel like TikTok and Instagram are kind of side or like running side by side. But I'm not as comfortable with filming on Instagram. I'm not like TikTok gives you the auto whatever these days. So it's like, okay, sometimes I can do that. I'm just more comfortable with TikTok. And so I've just kind of made that my like kind of main focus by default. And then it's only when I get good traction on TikTok that it feeds into like the waterfall goes down. Then like Instagram starts popping, Twitter starts going, people are clicking more links to get to different places. And like, I think it was last month I had that silly little video about Urban Dictionary get 1 million views.
Ooh,
And
congrats.
holy, that was amazing. I was on cloud nine. I was so happy. And I was like, ah, if I just got like one viral video a month, I could retire so much sooner.
Yeah.
And it's just getting more reach and finding more people that are your people. Because it's not like the 1 million people liked me, but
no.
I got 100 people who followed all my links and went. And like now I have subscribers from it. And I'm like, that was awesome.
Well, and that's the big thing. Because I mean, let's talk about that too. So you do the OnlyFans thing, and there's no like, it's not like that platform has any organic push. Like, it's not like there's a feed where your stuff just kind of circulates on there, like the other socials do have. So you have to like market yourself and be like, hey, I'm over here. You know, this is how you get there.
Yeah.
Unlike, you know, like I said, I find. And going back to what you brought up, like I'm most comfortable with TikTok too. I find the filming is a lot easier, but also too, you get the most, how did I put that? You get the most reach out of it. Like, it'll push it out to like a bunch of people.
Something about reach.
Getting there.
Oh.
Are we caught up yet?
I'm like, I just saw you. I was like, you take a sip of a coffee and then you freeze there. But yeah, no, we're back.
So yeah, I find TikTok has the most, like, you get the most reach from TikTok, but and it's the one I'm most comfortable with. And then so it's using that as a springboard to funnel people elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And it honestly, it's the more controversial. I can't fucking say it properly, but whatever. You are like, once you get people hating your opinion or what you're thinking, once you get those haters in there, that's when it's gonna go good. Like, and it sucks to say that, but it's like the haters are really like, they just fucking, they want to tell you how they hate you and how you're wrong. And I'm like, thanks for spending time helping my algorithm, sir.
It's like it's a necessary evil, I guess, because nobody likes getting the negative comments. Like, you don't like reading the shit. And I made a video on this one time where we, you know, as much as we'll sit there and say, you know, we don't let it get to us, it's like we read every damn comment, like whether we respond to it or engage with it or not. We're reading every damn comment that comes down the pipeline. That's where us as individuals have to make that determination to be like, are we going to let it get to us? Are we going to respond to it? Are we not going to respond to it? Like, which approach are we taking with it? But we still read it. But at the same time too, those are the ones that will be there poking and prodding you all the time. And it's like, you're this, you're that. It's like, okay, thanks. But yeah, thanks for boosting my shit.
Yep. I mean, a great example is how one guy called me a bimbo on so many of my videos, and I just ran with it. And then he's like, oh, you're from Bimboville. And as we all know, your wife made me a sticker saying Bimboville. And it's just like, that was like a fun little joke. It gave me something to do. And end of the day, I know what I am and I know what I put out in this world. And I also choose and curate a lot of what I put out. So I find it funny when people are like, oh, you're this way. And I'm like, but do you really think I'm that way? Like, do you really think my name's Emma?
Wait,
uh,
I can't wait.
there's so many, or it's like, do you really think I'm in Grand Prairie? Like one guy's like, oh, I thought I saw you in Lloydminster. And I'm like, I've tagged Lloydminster 30 times. I've never been to that city. But people just, they run with it because they want to see it that way.
People create their own little worldview. Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's funny how a lot of people will take things that are put out on social media so seriously. Is there serious content? Absolutely there is. There's people that are putting out legitimate, hey, this is how I feel, this is me, without putting up the filter. But for the most part, like, we all kind of put on a facade, not a facade, but we provide a caricature of ourselves. It's not it's the essence of us, but not us. Like,
I would say it's like 80% me, 20% holding back and changing it to fit the narrative I want to fit.
yeah. Well, it's like me, like when I make my silly stuff, like I, Fire Steve here, like I emphasize, I don't talk like that on a day-to-day basis. I'll do it for the video or whatever, because it's, you need to try and grab people's attention. You need to try and be like, it's like step right up to whatever, you're trying to grab people's attention, kind of like, the people did it with the, the circuses and the freak shows back in the day. It's like, come check this out. It's like, okay, we do the same thing. But, if people, I think of that, like, 'cause there's that whole, like, Nikocado avocado thing going on where it's all like, I'm 2 steps ahead. And I'm like, okay, but you basically have to be ahead of people in that regard. Basically keep them, keep them guessing, I guess.
Yep.
And then, so grabbing people's attention and showing people like, okay, this is what I want you to see. Because we're not going to show people everything about ourselves, but we're going to show them what we've built and what we want people to see.
Yeah.
Like, I think, well, and say this too, like we've hung out in person, which is that'll open up another funny topic as well.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Exactly. So you get to know, and that's what I love about meeting people, and I mean becoming friends with people. You get to know a person. You're like, okay, I've seen the real you, you've seen the real me, not the public facing personas that we put out there. And I mean that's even a big part of why I started this podcast in the first place, was because people get to know you from a certain type of content, whether you go viral for something, whether you have a certain personality, whatever it is, but we don't get to know the real person behind the account. And there are people, you come up, you do a one-liner, like I'll pick on like the What No Way guy, Sean. He blew up huge. I remember when I first got on TikTok, like me and him were, because he had his welding account, or his first welding business, he had an account for that, and he was interacting with my stuff, and then all of a sudden I started seeing him popping off like that. But there's more to the guy than saying what no way, but that's what took off, and that's what everybody knows him as. And I've gone into his live streams, and everybody's basically coming in, what? No way. I'm sure he's like, yeah. But I'm sure you get to that point where you're like, okay, like there's more to me than just this. And has that come through with you, as far as like people they just know you from one thing, so then that's all they're popping in and basically like talking about?
Yeah. My favorite, like, kind of thing like that is thinking of Shrek, when the little boy's telling Shrek, do the roar, do the roar. And it's like, that was like when people are like, Quentin, do the dance, do the dance. And it's like people see you on the internet and they just all of a sudden are like, I want this from you. And it's like, no, but no, let me give what I want to give out and take it or not, take it or leave it.
It's a dance monkey dance. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to do the thing. And I know like I had conversations with Quentin about that. He's like, I'm tapped out. He's like, I'm tired of doing, like, he's like, I'm glad this is what people follow me for, or humble, or he's very humble about it, to the point where he's like, I'm appreciative of all the support I got and all the people that came on board for this, but he's like, I'm moving on. Like, if you're here for this and that's all you think I'm gonna do, this might not. Oh,
no, it's good. He walked past. I was like, is someone gonna walk in? Ah, we're good.
false alarm. Podcasting at work.
I mean, this is the first time I've been paid to be on a podcast, so thanks for that.
You're most welcome.
It was by a sponsor that didn't even know.
Yeah, we're being sponsored. Actually, I mean, technically, I'm at work. I mean, I'm in camp, but I mean, I'm still paid to be up here. So, yay! Let's hear it for getting paid to podcast.
Paid to podcast.
Sponsored by the oil patch. Let's go.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about social media, stuff like that. I mean, we've definitely squirreled a little bit going here, there. And I feel like this is just how my podcasts go half the time. It's just like, yeah, we're talking about this. Now we're talking about this now. And the audience gets to keep up. They're just like, where are we going now? Where are you taking us next?
Like every one of my conversations, there's got to be 5 stories in the one to get there.
Exactly. It keeps things interesting, especially, I mean, if we're talking about attention spans, it's like you get to listen to all the topics. It's not like we're coming in here and like hammering down on one topic for an hour. It's like you guys get like 30 topics in 10 minutes. Like,
yeah.
So how long have you been working in the oil patch total? Like, let's sidestep. We'll talk about, because I haven't really done a whole lot of like oil field blue collar chat besides like when I had Tanya on the 3rd episode.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing the medic thing in the oil field?
I am going to renew my tickets for the 4th time this December. Ooh. So I guess technically only 9 years, but I started in 2013. I've left a handful of times. One summer I worked on a beer cart at a golf course in the Okanagan, and that was a great job. Didn't pay as well. Views were way better though.
Yep.
And so I've left a few times, but I always end up coming back because as much as a lot of people in the oil patch don't have as much freedom and stuff, from the get-go, I kind of saw how companies see you as a number. So I see them as a number, and I've probably worked for at least 12 different companies in the last 10 years, but I've never left on bad terms. It's just, I'm going to go to my cousin's wedding, or I'm going to go to Bali, or I'm going to go and travel and do this. And I'm not turning down my life events because I need a paycheck.
Yep.
Whereas I'm lucky I can do that, and not very many people in the oil field are. Because I would say a lot of them are the sole providers for their families. So they have to do whatever shifts, and they have to save for whenever you unfortunately have breakup. So I've been very lucky over the years with that, and I'm very thankful. And that's what keeps me coming back, is as long as in my head, I'm like, if I work at least 12 days a month, then it's better than me having an in-town job.
Yeah.
Because that I would have to do 20 days and not have very much free time, be a weekend warrior and look forward to all the weekends.
Well, I can relate to that too, because I mean, even with me having a family, I mean, it's tough, I'm away, I miss things, but at the same time too, when I'm off, I'm off. And yeah, like working an in-town job, it would be Monday to Friday, weekends off. Even the relationship dynamic too would be completely different. As I find when I get home, I'm spending time with Vic and the kids and stuff like that, because it's not like I think when people you're married or in a relationship or just even cohabitating together, you're in the same place for all the time. Like you don't get that break from one another. Whereas I'm a week away. So by the time I get home, it's like, hey, we're missing each other. So there's no need to have like the, the boys' night or the girls' night. It's not like we need time away from each other in that regard. I mean, sometimes, it's nice to, hey, I got plans, I'm going to go hang out with my friends or whatever, but it's not like, people need to like get away and like, it's okay, you're smothering, I need a break.
Yeah.
So it's nice in that regard to where like, hey, I get to come up here, do my thing, make more money than I would be sitting at or working from home. And then I get that time off to go and do different things. We get to go travel. Not as much as like, I still like the 2 and 2 better, like having 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, because then we had a shit ton of time to like go drive someplace. But now it's like with 6 days, it's okay, but it's not as great as it was with having a full 11 or 12 off.
Are we caught up now?
All right.
Are you there now? Oh,
How about now? Good.
every time I say that, you like go off the screen and come back. Oh,
Am I? Am I that far behind? It's weird because you're in real time, but I must be lagging.
okay, there we go. I was like, now your lights are flashing behind you. I know I really have you.
Technical difficulties.
But yes, what like the week on, week off schedule, it's nice because you're not away for as long, but at the same time, it's harder to do stuff because you only really have 5 days in there to do stuff. And then it's not like your honey to-do list goes away.
No, everything piles up, and then there's you're trying to cram everything in at home. It's like your relaxation time, your the honey-do list, and then just spending time with Vicky, and then doing things with the kids, and and then you have appointments on top of that. It's like, oh, I got this appointment and I got this thing. So then though, like the 5-6 days goes by really quickly.
Yeah.
So that's why like it sucked doing the 2 weeks in and 2 weeks out as far as like being away. You were gone for a long time, and it was like, the kids got to the point where they're like, okay, like when are you coming home? And now the weekend is a lot better because they're like, oh, yeah, cool, you're back. But yeah, they really, the 2 weeks was a lot. I think 10 days was about the time where it was like, okay, we miss you, I want you to come home now, rather than so it was about the 10-day mark is where I found that was kind of that limit. But like I said, having the 12 days off to be able to, like, you could take a trip to BC and not even have to book any extra time off, which is nice.
Yeah.
What's your ideal schedule? Like, what would be like working the full 12 days all in one shot and then just taking the rest of the month off? Or
Yeah. I mean, 12 days is kind of like the minimum I want to be working, depending. Like, that was kind of my base of if I have 12 days, then I feel okay. But realistically, I think my goal for the next few months is I want to do like 20 and 10.
Yeah.
But my job is not predictable like that. So it'll be, I think this job's a week, and then I'll probably go to Edmonton for a couple days, wait for the next one to come up. And I think till the last weekend of October, I'm not setting any plans. I'm just like, I picked out the last weekend of October is my next weekend that I want to say no to work. So till then, I'm just going to take the days off that I get and roll with them.
Yeah.
And then in the new year, supposedly I'm supposed to start 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off on a drilling rig.
Nice.
That could be good. But then me and my best friend started planning a trip to the Philippines, and we're thinking about going for 3 weeks. And then I'm like, what if I go to Bali after? So, but then I'm like, I could just not go to one of my shifts and take 6 weeks off, or like we're really planning on going the end of March. So that's pretty much breakup anyways.
Pretty much. Like, if it was anything like last year, that's pretty well. Like we had a really mild winter besides that 1 week of -40 out here, which was gross.
Yeah.
But yeah, like by that point, I mean, you're kind of getting into wrap up mode anyway. So, I mean, if you're looking at that time, you should be able to do it. And it's always that balance. It's like you can do whatever you want, but it's like, okay, am I going to have the work to come back to? And that's the kicker right there.
Yeah, I definitely was a little bit slower. I wanted to work this summer, but then it was like every second weekend was like May long weekend with the family. Then I had your fire competition in Warrenville.
Yeah.
Then I had my cousin's stag. Then I had it was like July long weekend. So there was like I was supposed to go on a job right after July long weekend. And then it got pushed for a week. So it was gonna start the day before my cousin's wedding. And I was just like, whatever. Oil field gods don't want me back yet. That's fine.
I get the thing is the nice thing too, where you're at, I mean, you've also got other revenue streams as well. Like you've got something else on the side that you can work with. So you're not stuck. And I think there's a lot of people that get in the oil field and like that. That's it. Like obviously it's either that they have to because they're the sole provider.
Yeah.
And there's no other options. There's nothing else on the table for them to, kind of keep everything afloat. It's nice when a person can diversify. I mean, that's my recommendation to anybody who works the oil field is like, even if you're not working full time, but like have something else to fall back on, because there are times when, hey, you're going to be sitting waiting and we don't know what oil prices are doing. They've been kind of maintaining to where things have been steady, luckily. But for them, we don't know if things are going to tank down to $40 a barrel again. And then a lot of these projects get shelved and, you could be sitting for an extended period of time. Well, what else can a person do? What other skill set do you have? What other things can a person do to maybe you're not making the same money?
Yeah.
But anything coming in helps it keeps you from falling backwards that much quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was talking to one well tester the other day, and he constantly is on Facebook Marketplace looking for cars to buy. And then, like, sometimes he just details them and then sells them. Yep. And, like, he's like, oh, yeah, no, I don't just rely on this. I know, like, as much as I'm the first call and I'm in my company, you got to have something else. That's how you actually survive, which is sad to say because before you could just live off one income per house. Now even two people with incomes isn't reliable.
And that's why we need to do our whole tiny home thing.
Yep. Yes, the compound.
Yeah, because it's getting crazy. Like I said, even too, like we're fortunate, and I mean we didn't over leverage ourselves. I know we're trying to sell our place and get into something bigger, but it's one of those things where we'll get there. But at the time, I mean, when things slow down, I'm fortunate because I can keep things afloat, by myself. And Vic was able to stay home with the kids and raise them. Now that they're getting bigger, she has a bit more opportunity once her surgery gets done and her health issues are taken care of, like, and done properly for a change. So then, if we had two incomes, it'd be like, holy crap, this is a lot easier. But I know for myself, it's been okay, oil field. But then with the fire department, we're paid on call. So I do get paid for the responses I do and stuff like that. So that's some extra there. And then I haven't fully monetized social media stuff yet. Little bits, like little pockets of it here and there. Little bits like with some of the merch stuff we've sold, the stickers and we've got some pickles coming or floating around now. And I've got, the Fire Steve patches. So we got stuff like that. I mean, that's more so fun stuff. And I mean, we make a few bucks but typically with a lot of that stuff there, I take that money that I make, whether I've gotten paid for a couple of videos, but I take that money, I kind of reinvest it in, to pay for better equipment or even like platforms like this. Like running doing the whole podcast thing, and like there's costs that go with that, which it's a passion project, but
Yeah.
and then yeah, I mean, then even too, you think like link trees or anything like that, like landing pages, where to make finding your other pages easier, there's a cost associated with that too.
Oh yeah.
And it all kind of goes into the marketing thing, which I'm sure you've dove into quite a bit. Like, what are some of the things that you found that have helped you push yourself or kind of market your other socials from the ones that people get to know you on?
I honestly, I'm the worst person to ask. I don't even know. Like, I'm just kind of like, I'm me. If you like me, look for me. I've just always said, like, Google me.
Yeah.
Google me and you'll find me. But I don't know if guys do that, but like girls, sorry to out us ladies, but we're like FBI detectives when it comes to like if we're interested in guys or something. Like if I saw a cute guy and I wanted to know more about him, just give me his name and like 5 minutes on the internet and see what I can come up with. And so I just try to make it like, as far as marketing, I just try and keep my name out there, like bold and the same across everything. And then hope that the ones that are clicking the links are smart enough to find it.
Well, and I think the ones that are looking for that, the ones that are like, hey, I'm looking for the specific link, are going to, yeah, they'll find it.
Oh,
Guys
definitely.
we're definitely not we're definitely not detectives in that regard, but I feel like dudes are the type of like, oh, this chick's hot, I'm gonna go find her, and they'll snoop through, they'll be like, okay, I found the Instagram, and now okay, now I found this link, or and then I found the fans page. They'll find it,
Oh yeah.
one way or another. But yeah, I can totally confirm with the whole, you ladies are like crazy when it comes, not I mean, I might get in trouble for saying crazy, not crazy, but crazy for like finding information, because there's been times where we've had trolls like comment on videos, and Vic will be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I looked through their friends list, and they have this person, I found them on Facebook. It's one of these two people. The name's either
Yeah.
X or Y, and I'm like, how the hell did you figure that out?
Yes. I would say we are resourceful. We are very resourceful.
Yeah. Resourceful. That's the term. We're gonna go resourceful.
Yeah. You want to see crazy? Just kidding.
Hey, want to see crazy? I'll show you crazy.
Yeah. It's just when you smile and laugh that you really fucked up.
There's certain looks where you get, and you're like, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, ladies have that. Like, there's that look. You're like, I fucked up. See, for myself, when I'm given a stare, I call it the dad look, or that's what we've kind of dubbed it, because like when I don't get like angry. Like, you won't see me like elevate. If I'm yelling, that's not the maddest I am or the most intense
Yeah.
I am. It's like when I get like really like my voice actually gets lower, and it's like, and then I just kind of get a stance about me and a look, and it's like there's been a few times where had run-ins with people online or whatever. She's like, yeah, you have the look. You're giving people like you're giving them shit, like they're in deep trouble. And a lot of people like, well, I've done that for calling out trolls, even like some of the ones that have gone after you, and I'm like, no, fuck this, I'm gonna step up and give them the years.
Yeah. Freaking trolls are though, like, it's so stupid. I had one guy yesterday comment on one of my Twitter posts, and I made a joke about me being fat. I was like, I'm a baddie, but I'm a fatty, but I'm still a baddie. And he's like, no, you're obese or something. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why do you even need to comment? And then I let it get the best of me. So I clicked on his page because I was like, what's this guy even about? And his whole interactions, like I went through, and the last half hour he commented on probably 50 different chicks just talking down negatively. And I was like, okay, so you literally just came to make yourself feel better by bashing women on the internet for being resourceful and monetizing in ways they want to? Okay.
And those are the dudes too that you look at them and they're like, you know, you look like this, or you're fat, or you're ugly, or whatever, and it's like, bro, look at yourself. Like you're not a prize. Like freaking, it looks like you smell like Cheetos and you haven't bathed in like a week.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Vicky sent something to me the other day of some guy fat shaming somebody on a Facebook post, and then looked at his profile and it's like, okay, bro, like you've got, and even if you are, you know, completely fit and whatever, I mean, that's no excuse to freaking attack people. Like, especially if it's more of a reflection on those people of how they're talking to others online. Because it's like, okay, obviously you have to make people feel bad in order to make yourself feel good. So this is more about you than it does about me.
Yeah. Yeah. I find the people who want to make other people feel bad online probably have never felt good about themselves in their own lives.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Like some people are like, oh, you have so much confidence. And I'm like, you know why I have confidence? Because I stopped giving a fuck. Unless I actually care about you, I don't care about your opinion. I mean, like, my employers and some coworkers and stuff, like in a respectful employment environment, yeah, I gotta kind of give a crap. But on the internet, no, I'm not giving those trolls the time of day. I'm just gonna laugh and like be like, thanks for coming out to my TED Talk.
Well, you almost have to, yeah, like you don't take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. And that's one thing I try to like go back to. It's like, hey, I don't know this person from a hole in the ground. They can say whatever the hell they want about me, but it doesn't. I mean, there's still times, like I said, we're gonna look at the negative comments more so than the positive ones, because we're always looking at. I always go back to our brain chemistry, and like we're looking for that tiger out in the jungle, the thing that's out to harm us. That's why we always pay attention to negative news or bad news rather than good news. However,
Yeah.
it's what we do with it. And I mean, I do the same thing. It's like, okay, you want to poke fun. Usually I'll steer into the skid for the most part. Like, and I've done a good job at keeping the trolls at bay, because if they find something that gets to you and they know it gets to you, then they're going to push harder. So it's like, okay, whatever. Like, you know, the ones like, oh, what the hell was it? I had one video where one of my fire videos, and somebody's like, I wouldn't take advice from a guy with a lisp. And it's like, I mean, there's 1,000 other people that understood me 100% perfectly. So I don't know what your problem is. It's like, yeah, I mean, I talk the way I talk, but I mean, usually what I'll do with those comments is I'll find a video that like just plays off the whole thing. It's like, usually I'll take a song that, and then I'll like really like emphasize the lisp on it, and then make people think like, hey, does this song actually, like, does the singer actually have a lisp? Because it'll fuck with your brain a little bit.
I don't know, I guess.
Okay.
Chris.
Thanks. Sounds good.
Checking in. Checking in.
Yeah.
But that's yeah, like there's gonna be negativity on the internet no matter what. So it's what positive stuff can we find out? I mean, that's the thing. I in my experience, the positive outweighs the negative by a long shot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The good definitely I think about way more than the bad. Like I've made tons of good relationships through social media, which is so funny because my parents told me to never talk to strangers on the internet, but it's kind of worked out for me.
It has. It absolutely. I feel that I talk to more strangers on the internet than I do people in my own real life. Or yeah, kind of, yeah, definitely. I have more friends that I talk to on a regular basis that I've made off of TikTok than, or just social media in general, but mostly TikTok, than I have like that I communicate with people that I went to school with or stuff like that. Like I still see these people around, but I have more meaningful conversations with people that I've met through social media.
Yeah. Well, it's because you find your community and the people who like the similar things, and then it just overlaps and it's easy. And it's like, oh, I'm seeing this pickle thing. I should send it to Steve. Like, oh, I'm doing this. And you like just, you think of that person. And it's like, holy fuck, why are they in my head? But like, I like that.
Well, and it's funny with that too, because everybody kind of gets a niche or whatever and stuff like that. And you know, like the amount of pickle stuff I get sent is just crazy for something
Yeah.
that was a stupid gag that I pulled out. Like, just I'm like, I found a pickle at Canadian Tire in High Level, and I'm like, oh, this will be funny. This will be hilarious to go on live and just like troll people with my pickle. And then
Yeah.
it became a thing of like, hey, have you seen, do you know Fire Steve? He has a pickle. He shows everybody his pickle. You should see his pickle. And then the people
Yeah.
who are in the know are like, so they're going, hee hee hee. And the people that don't know are like, what the, or they're like, huh? then,
Yeah.
And then he's like, they whip out a pickle and they're like, oh, like an actual pickle. Like, not the, oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I live for those interactions because I like gauging people and seeing how comfortable they are, what their sense of humor is like. You know, it gives you a good gauge on how a person, how they're going to react to things, and just, you know, through normal conversation, are they going to be super serious about everything? Or are they going to be able to laugh and joke? And, you know, that's kind of how I find my people who don't take things so seriously all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's working out well. I mean, it takes time, and like anything, you know, you meet a lot of people online. Not everybody, even if you have good interaction online, it's not, maybe you don't mesh outside of the social media verse or whatever. But it just takes time. It's like any relationship. It takes time to get to know somebody and build that relationship from the ground up, essentially.
Yeah. And then you're going to get other people who just see you and don't like you because they just saw a 10-second video of you online.
And I've done it too. Like, there's some people that I've blocked, and it's just like, I've had certain creators where I've seen their stuff and I'm like, I don't like them. And I don't know why I don't like them. But instead of like trolling them, I just say, okay, whatever, you're not for me. And I just,
Yeah.
you know, not interested, or I just block, and then I don't see their stuff anymore. Because it's like, okay, they're irritating me. I do want to say something, or it's like, I feel like I might say something, but it's like, it's just going to be negative and derogatory. And it's like, they're out there doing their thing. I could see if they were
Yeah.
attacking people, but I mean, not everybody has to like everybody.
Yeah.
But everybody should be able to treat everybody with a certain amount of respect and decency.
Definitely.
And then, you know, as you go through, and like I said, you get to know people. And I've always said, it's like, you know, I think of it like a bullseye. And you get the people on the outside are your acquaintances, or, you know, people you kind of know. And then you have, you know, your friend, you know, people that you know, better acquaintances, you know, people that you'll spend a little bit more time visiting with. You know, maybe somebody you would sit at a pub or a bar, you know, have a drink with or whatever, but, you know, they're not coming over for Thanksgiving dinner. And then you get your friends, and then your closer friends, and then your like your core tight circle, which, you know, your family, or, you know, your really good friends, or significant other, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny, the different people, because it's like some people might know you, but at the same time, like, they don't know what your house is like. They don't know what vehicle you drive. Like, as much as they know you and your friends, they actually don't know too much about you.
Yep. Well, and I've often told people too, is like, because I've had people like, oh, here's my phone number, and I'm like, I mean, when I first got on, there was people I exchanged numbers with a little bit more easier, but then now it's like, I mean, there's enough ways to get a hold of me. I'm like, you know, I've got, you know, you can send me a message on TikTok, Instagram, email. I'm like, I'm a very easy person to get a hold of, but I've also got it set up in a way it's like, I can shut those things off, or I can kind of tune them out and say, okay, well, I'm not checking my DMs today. I'm not checking, you know, my messages, because if it's super important that I need to be getting a hold of, well, if you have my phone number, yeah, you know, person will get a hold of me. But typically there's nothing that people online, it's not going to be an emergency of like, we need to get a hold of you right now because, you know, you see my content, you know me from online, maybe we've had conversations, but there's not going to be a 911 emergency where you need to get a hold of me like at that right very second.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even fucking some of my best friends that I've met through the internet, I don't even know their phone number. Like my friend Monica, I don't know her phone number. We've talked over Instagram and Snapchat, and I know her address, and I show up to her house.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's good. It works. There's only been like one time where I'm like, fuck, dude, I should probably have your number. And then I think I got it, but I forgot to save it.
There's been a few times where, like, you know, certain people are more old school, so it's like, oh, what's your number? And it's like, okay, like, or if somebody's coming to meet up with me, like I had Raymond come up from Bellis, he came up to Lac La Biche and had lunch, and I'm like, yeah, here's my number, text me when you get in, because, you know, I don't have notifications on TikTok anyway, so I'm like, well, it's just easier this way. And, you know, you kind of gauge it out from there. And basically what I've told people is like, hey, if you've got my number or you've got my personal Facebook, that's a pretty good indicator. I mean, that's not the only indicator. Because, I mean, I don't like, I might have sent you a friend request on Facebook, but we don't have each other's number. I communicate with you through Instagram, TikTok, or through Vic.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was Snapchat video chatting Vic, and I said something about Facebook, and she's like, I don't have you on Facebook. And I was like, I don't really go on Facebook. I'm like, I have it, but it's like my dead name.
Yeah. I'm there too, but I don't post a lot on it. Like I'll post, but that's where like the pictures of my kids are. And that's where like,
oh yeah,
stuff like that. That's what exists over there. Whereas I feel, I mean, you're in the same boat as me. I feel like we put a lot of ourselves out publicly, like, but there's certain things that we do keep to ourselves. And it's like, there's certain people that know this, and Facebook's about the one place where it's like, okay, that's where I'll, pictures of the kids or where Vicky will tag me and stuff where they're doing it. Other than that, I mean, I've maybe put like 5 posts total on there, not including things I've reposted from Fire Steve. But yeah, I think I've posted like 5 things independently of that on my own personal Facebook. And I very rarely because I'm busy enough with the other stuff.
Yeah, I find when I go on my personal Facebook, someone from high school had a baby and then someone had someone die. And I swear to God, that happens like once a week. And I'm like, why is it either? Like, it's literally like the two that are obviously going to keep happening in life. So it makes sense. But I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. If anything, I think my favorite thing to see of people posting that I like personally know is traveling and experiences. I love seeing people have good experiences.
Well, and that's the amazing thing. And I think that's where it's super nice to see that stuff and see people going out there and getting outside of their bubble and seeing that there is more to life, more to the world than just your small town that you grew up in. I mean, I'm guilty of that for the most part. It's like I haven't traveled a whole heck of a lot, but starting, I mean, that's the challenge with having a family young is that it's like, okay, well, we're not going to take a trip to Mexico when we got babies because they ain't going to remember it. And then, trying to find, juggle around, okay, we'll find somebody to watch the kids. So we just said, as the kids get older, we've been able to go on some trips. And I mean, I think for the most part, a lot of them has included you.
I was like, shout out to me, BC, Edmonton.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing about having kids early is now you're able to do more, and like with your kids becoming more independent, it's like it goes hand in hand because you could take them to do more, but you can also, it's like, okay, I'm going to go out for the drink and it's not illegal for me to leave you at home now or at the hotel room.
Well, like our oldest one, Brooke, like she's got her babysitting course now. And now
I heard about that.
I know.
Are you planning to use her and her resources?
Oh, I've heard all about the plans. I mean, not everybody needs to know about the plans, but there will be a safety meeting 2.0.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's an interesting story. I think it's a good one. The first time we met in person, because I'm still like, I remember you surprised the crap out of me. That was hilarious.
That was fun. It was fun.
So that was we were, well, I wasn't expecting it at all. So yeah, in Edmonton there, and then so you and Vic had been planning this thing without me even aware.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then it was funny because as much as Vic posts, she's kind of behind the screen more, or like behind the camera more. And so people didn't know I have this great relationship with Vic. And I would say, like, it came off like me and you were like this, but yet it was like me, you, and Vic in different ways. We were all really good friends.
It's
like
like
all
that
three
audio.
of us together.
It's
But then
like that
since it was just me and you posting online, everyone's like, ooh, rendezvous. And I'm like, yeah, with his wife.
Well, no,
and she planned it with me.
and the rumor mill that got going after that one was freaking hilarious. Like everybody was like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And I, it's like, "Oh, so you're meeting up with Emma in Edmonton, eh?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, Vic was there. She planned it all." But people talk, and people are going to make their own presumptions. Like at the same time, too, I'm like, honestly, let them think what they want to think. Let them, because I mean, at the end of the day, what's it going to matter? What they going to run to my wife and be like, "Did you know your husband's hanging out with her?" It's like, yes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, it's well, and even too, like, it was funny because me and you, I remember you were one of the first people I stitched. Like when I first got on TikTok, like I think I was on it maybe a month, not even, like maybe a week or two at that point. And you did one of those typical, like, I'm doing this. What do you think? Or basically like something where I found there was a lot of videos, like kind of that whole 2020, 2021, where it's like, that's what it was. Yeah. Name your favorite color. I'll go first. And it was like one of those, it wasn't that specifically. It's like, what are you doing for the weekend or something like that? I'll go first. And then I just said, oh, I'm working. Or it had to do with Alberta. That's what it was.
Don't worry. After this, I'm going to go find it. I'll be scrolling your page for 6 hours to get to the bottom with this Starlink, but I'll get there.
You'll get there eventually. It's like I could probably save you some time because I'm pretty sure I favorited it. I think I've got it favorited. I'll send it to you.
Cool.
It'll save you a shit ton of scrolling. I think actually, now that I'm really thinking about it took me a second because I hadn't thought about it in a while. It's like, tell me you're from Alberta without telling me you're from Alberta. I'll go first. That's what I'm pretty sure it was.
Yep, that was a good one. I remember that.
So, I came across that one. I'm like, oh, I'll stitch this. Okay, whatever. Didn't think nothing of it. And then, because my algorithm was a lot of oil field right out the gate. Like I was heavy because even though I've been Fire Steve the whole time, my first year and a half was all oil field. Like there was the odd fire related thing that I would sprinkle in there, but it was a lot of like, I was looking up pump jack stuff and I was looking at oil field. So then that's what my algorithm gave me is people who worked in the oil field, coveralls, hard hats, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's where I started off there. So that was the first time I interacted with you online. And then it was like a while after, I think, because I followed you and then you followed me back at some point. And then I remember popping into your live that one time when I was up in camp and your live got up to like 1,000 people. And I'm like,
I miss those days.
You're like, we're building up, and I'm like, tap the screen, and I'm like telling people, come on. So I'm like encouraging all the random dudes, and they're like, send gifts, like let's pump this thing up, keep going, guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, and then I think I jumped in, and then after it kind of petered off, I think I jumped in your guest box, and then that's when Vic popped through, because obviously she's seen I was live. And then that's kind of how we all first started kind of chatting from there.
Yeah.
And then, it was like fast forward, it was easily a full year later. And then, we plan to go to the city, and we're at the DoubleTree, and we got that fancy ass room that time too, the boardroom.
Yeah.
Because I don't like that's what it was. 'Cause I wanted a room with a bathtub. And I'm like, yeah, let's just get.
Yeah.
So we got that, and then what was it, 8:00 at night, and then you come to the door and housekeeping, and I'm like, fuck. And I should have thought of it logically, but I didn't. I'm like, what the hell are they coming cleaning the room at this time of night? And then open the door and you're standing there. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, good old times.
Yeah, and then now that's kind of become the hangout spot, because we can go swim in the pool till whatever time of the night.
And free cookies. Don't forget the fucking free cookies. Sometimes when I drive past there, I think about just stopping in for free cookies.
Those cookies are amazing.
They are. And where else do you get like warmed cookies handed to you?
Exactly. Well, it's funny too, because at one time I checked in, because they always give you a cookie. Everybody would get a cookie when you check in, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, I usually eat Vic's because she's allergic to walnuts, and just so she can't eat them. So I eat hers. So I'm like, I can go for another cookie. And then one time we checked in, and the one person who checked us in, they're like, you can just come down here and ask for them, right? Like, don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be special. Like, we'll just give them to you. And I'm like, oh, this could be bad.
Yep. And then they're out sometimes, and you're like, can you go whip some up?
I'm not checking in. Like, if I go there and they don't have a cookie for me, it's like, okay, I'm going elsewhere. Get me
I'm gonna need a discount.
I need the room at like half rate, because you guys owe me big time.
Yeah.
But it worked. It's a good spot. I mean, this isn't an ad for the DoubleTree by Hilton in Edmonton. However, I mean, they've got a little bit of everything. Like I said, they've got the cookies, they've got the pool, they've got that little restaurant lounge in there where, I mean, good food there. I mean, you don't even have to really venture out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All sorts of suites. We gotta get one of the suites with the long table again.
Well, exactly. That's the boardroom. So I think that's the plan for the safety meeting. We'll be doing it, get the big room and get people together, because I think that's, you can fit, it's a big ass room. There's like the table with like 8 chairs, and then a full living room. It's like it's a full suite with a bar and everything. It was pretty fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was great.
And then from there, things just built, I feel like. And then we came out to BC and hung out with you for your birthday and stuff like that. Yep. And I mean, you came to my fire competition, so it's amazing, through interacting online, how that friendship's formed. I mean, even the other night you were Snapchatting with Vic. I was like, I gotta go to bed because it was the night before my tattoo appointment.
Oh my god, we fucking video chatted for I think like 6 hours that night.
It was a while, because I remember there was a couple times I could hear you guys, like, as I was kind of nodding off, and then I think I don't know if she came to the room or whatever. But yeah, she told me all about it in the morning, which is hilarious. But it's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I think that's the other part too, where a lot of people get to know me, and I've made some friends and stuff like that. But it's also cool that she's making friends at the same time as well, because she doesn't put a lot of her own stuff out there, but that she's made some meaningful friendships and stuff out of the deal as well, which is pretty sweet. And you just think about it, it's like, if we didn't put ourselves out there, if we didn't make that decision to be like, hey, I'm going to put my face online and act crazy, or make whatever videos, or make thirst traps, or make whatever we're doing on there, if we didn't decide to do any of that, none of this would be happening. Like there wouldn't be any of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
think of,
I remember when TikTok first came out and I was like, this is kind of stupid. And then I didn't make an account for the longest time. And then I made an account, I think, in March 2020. And I had one video of me putting hand sanitizer into a water bottle and saying it's Corona time. And I was like, there was a bit of a hand sanitizer shortage. I needed some at home. I'm just fucking going in the outhouse, like filling up my bottle. And then I didn't post for like the rest of the year, or I think in November, I heard a friend of a friend signed up for that one website and made some decent money. And I was like, I'm sitting here. I always wanted to like be some sort of influencer. At one point I had a Instagram page dedicated to like my fitness and working out, and I lost 40 pounds, but I only got 500 followers and I never got anything out of that besides like actually like, benefiting myself in my life, which was great.
Yeah.
But I was like, how do I do this? How do I sell stuff? How do I get people to want to buy my shit? And then I was like, oh, I just need to stop myself.
But that's
I'm kind of happy, as weird as it is, that I went that way, because looking at influencers now, the amount of fast fashion that's getting pushed is ridiculous. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, I got such a good deal on Shein. It should be like, no, I got this Ardeen tank top 5 years ago and she's still fucking working for me. Yeah. Or like, the only kind of fast fashion I like or really supported that I found through TikTok was like the Only Fire stuff and Only Pickles.
Only Pickles.
and stuff like that. Whereas like, okay, like now you're supporting your friend in a small business in that way. And I think that is really cool. But besides that, we need to stop with like Amazon and Shein, even though I'm not going to. But
well, and that's the tricky thing. I think some people they're looking for that way to monetize, and that's just something that comes across. And I find there's a lot more out of the US because the TikTok shop, and a lot of that is a lot of those one-off things, and they get a commission for it. It's a lot harder in Canada, and I've started exploring some of them.
Yeah.
So, but you got to figure out, okay, like how much do I, how much am I emphasizing on monetizing? And I've looked at it too in so many different ways, like, because even too with doing like, when my account does really well is when I'm talking about like the wildfire stuff. Like that seems to be like when things were popping off.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, that's not the time when I want to promote stuff, because I don't want it to be seen as, I don't want to like, I look at the optics of it. I don't want to be a thing of like, well, he's only doing this because he wants to sell shit. It's like, no, I mean, at the same time too, there's a lot of work and stuff that gets put into making content, even if it isn't informational, even if it's just making content in general. It's a lot of time, like finding the right audios, finding the right pictures, the location, the time to film. A 1 minute video doesn't take 1 minute to make. Very rarely.
Very rare, unless you're just like one take and I don't care, send it.
Yeah. And ironically, those are usually the videos that seem to take off for some reason. Like you're just like, fuck it. Yep. Like I did that. The first video that took off for me was one of those, like, because I was trying to post minimum once a day, because that's when I first got on, and I was trying to get to my 1,000 so I could go live. And I'm like, hey, I didn't come up with a video today. Shit. So I just did a random duet of some like tire fire in Kuwait. And then I was just like, oh, it's so nice that, there's this tire fire, but yet I get in trouble for driving my diesel truck. If only somebody could put out the tire fire. And I'm like, wait, The Simpsons had a tire fire. That video took off to like, I think it had like 50 or 60,000 views.
Yeah.
But it was controversial because I was talking about driving a big truck. So
oh yeah.
That's where I kind of found, I was like, okay, controversial works, but I'm like, yeah, that's not where I want to be with it. But just like I said, that last minute idea, and it's like, hey, that took off, and then you just spend hours planning a video, and it's like 500 views. You're like, sweet.
Yeah. My new little series I'm going off on is tidbits you didn't need to know. And it's pretty much me just looking up Urban Dictionary words and being like, what the fuck?
But that's one of those things that people are intrigued with. And I know you brought that up earlier, talking about like
Yeah.
your viral video. When my account went over, when I crossed 10,000 followers on TikTok, was because of a video like that. I was doing the whole "don't Google this" thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
Space dog fondue pot. Don't look it up, people. Don't do it. I'm warning you right now. But I mean, if you do decide to look it up, videotape yourself and tag me in the description, and I'll react to your video.
Yeah, just bring back the space dog fondue pot. And like, who comes up with that?
I don't know.
Like
that one there is like, okay, you're gonna, yeah. I mean, the nice thing about doing a podcast is like, I feel like I'm still like censoring myself to a degree, and it's like we can talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. However, I don't think I'm going to talk about the space dog fondue pot, because that one's even just like, no, just don't look it up. Take the warning.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's ideas like that are videos like that are funny, and especially too when you get people going like, oh my god, like why would you look that up? I didn't. Yeah. Somebody told me to look it up.
Yeah. I like how one guy, because I was like, oh, on Snapchat, one guy's like, why do you use Snapchat at your age? And I was like, I didn't know there was a limit on Snapchat, and it's because the dumb shit I want to send my friends, they don't actually need to keep it forever. Like, I think I've been debating making up a new TikTok that's just like my Snapchat, and just repost literally everything I post to my Snap stories on that TikTok. I mean, I could probably only do like 80% of them.
Right.
Because, they don't like when you garden. And or, you're just hanging out in your birthday suit.
Yep.
Oh.
Freaking TikTok ruining all the fun.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I think all these different platforms, like Snapchat's the one I never did. Actually, I haven't done Twitter. Oh, I did Twitter once under my own name, but I haven't been on it since, or X or whatever. Like, I look at all the socials, I'm like, fuck, I'm busy enough as it is. Like, yeah. But I mean, like you said, for sending quick little, snaps or whatever, and some dumb shit, it works perfectly fine for that.
I didn't know what I was going to wear today, so I might have talked to Vic about like the different ideas I had. I was debating taking this to my shirt. But then I just like the pickle sticker, so I decided with that. I debated getting a Sharpie and actually writing it across this tank top, but I was like, after writing the sign, I was like, I'm going to fuck it up. And then I only have this one shirt at work, so I probably shouldn't do that. And then the consultant's going to walk in and I'm going to be like, hey, just some artwork over here.
What's going on in here? Nothing. Just in the fiery pickles.
Arts and crafts.
We're making stuff. 5-minute crafts. But and the only pickles like that's a limited edition. Like, we didn't make any more of those, and there's no plans to make any more of those.
Yeah.
So throwback to the only pickles days.
Yeah. Little pickle.
I mean, I didn't really talk about this a lot, but I mean, I did the only friends thing for a bit too, just to like, I was like, fuck it, let's just give it a whirl. Let's see what. I didn't reference it. I didn't talk about it publicly. Like, there was a link, and then some people found it. It was there.
Yeah.
It's not there. It's not there anymore. but it was there at one point. Mostly dudes. If I'm being completely honest, it was a lot of dudes. I mean, hey, whatever. $20 is $20.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing. If I ever get people, especially guys, asking me how to start, I'm like, I cannot tell you how to start as a guy because it's completely different marketing and advertising. But what I can say is you're gonna have to try and sell yourself to other males because unfortunately, like, girls kind of have the upper hand if they want, even if they don't want to see stuff, they can just talk to guys on Tinder. I know, like, sometimes I'm like, hey, talking to a guy, and it's like, hey, how's it going? Da da da. Like, I downloaded Hinge because I was like, you know what? Let's actually try and date, maybe try and find some love.
Yeah.
No, that was like, it was weird because I thought it would be different. You have to spend more time setting up the profile and everything. And guys said they wanted more, but I think it went like dirty faster than Tinder guys. I'm just like, I was like, what? Or like, you're supposed to like set your location as like your forever location. And guys would change it when they were on vacation. And he's like, oh, I'm here for the weekend. And I'm like, that's not the point of this app.
Yeah, exactly. No,
but maybe you got banned off Tinder like I did. I need a new phone number so I can get back on Tinder.
Rocking the new phone number. Just it's like, okay, a little bit of help.
Literally thinking about calling and changing my second phone number.
See, I look at dating now, and it's like I wouldn't know how to navigate. Like, I've been married 11 years, and so looking at there was no apps at that point. There was plenty of fish. That was kind of like that was what was there. Beyond that, actually, I got a funny story with that one too. I think beyond that was basically it. There was plenty of fish. There might have been some other, like, I think you probably had Christian Mingle or freaking whatever. But
it was more you had to make your move in person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which I miss that. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things that guys can do is give you their number on a fucking piece of paper. Because then it's just open-ended. Here's my number. If you want to reply or not, that's up to you. Ball's in your court. Whereas sometimes, I mean, last job, one guy at work was like, can I have your phone number? I'm like, and I felt so awkward and I didn't know what to say. And I gave him my phone number because I felt so fucking weird. And he never texted me. And I'm like, did I give him the wrong phone number? Oops.
Well, and I think part of that is that air of mystery. Like, I think if you're kind of chatting somebody up a little bit, and then it's just like, yeah, here's my number. Like you said, you slide that piece of paper over. Here's my number, and then like don't linger, just fucking walk. And then I mean, you're rolling the dice on it. It's like, will she ever call? I don't know, but I think at the same time too, it's like that was pretty ballsy. Okay, you know, you need the football commentators being like, I don't know how it's going to work out for him, Jim, but everybody's watching.
So I want to hear your Plenty of Fish story.
Okay, so the Plenty of Fish story. Okay, so contrary to popular belief, like we didn't have nobody has a perfect relationship. Anyway, me and Vic were on again, off again quite a bit when we were first together. Like 3 times. So I forget if it was the second time. Anyway, so we split up, and then missed each other, got back together, split up again. Anyway, it was all sorts of fun. Not fun. So one point I set up a Plenty of Fish thing and she did too. And at that point on Plenty of Fish, they had this thing where it was a quiz. Like you would just fill out, answer some questions, and then it'd be like, okay, we're going to match you up with who we think you're a good fit with. Vicky does it, and the person that she matches up with is me. After we just split up. Like, not, she's like, okay, I'm done. I'm forgetting about this guy. And then I was the one that she's like, fuck.
That's too funny.
And then I think
So it goes to show you were a good fit.
yeah, no, it's funny. It's a funny story to tell. Like looking back, I think at the time she was like probably legit like, fuck this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny to look back on it now. And then think beyond that, like I remember one time Vic, she used Plenty of Fish, or I can't remember if it was Tinder when Tinder came out, but she was going around and just like her profile picture was a giraffe and she was just like trolling people on fucking
Yeah.
Oh, there was the other one too. They because that's when I think it was a Facebook thing where it would turn you into like the opposite gender. Like basically it was me as a girl, like if it looked like me as a female. So she took that picture and made a profile with it. And then there was dudes hitting on it, like checking it out, and the one may or may not have been my cousin. It had no I never find people in my area out here. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So that's about as much experience I have with the dating apps. And I think now it's like you said, it's just it's too fast. It's like left, right, scroll, swipe.
Yeah. It's the whole, our attention spans aren't that long, and it really goes to show, especially like in dating and stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a whole lot of interesting, and I think I don't know how we get out of it. Like I think is it the attention span thing? Is it just that? Is it that nobody's looking for anything long term anymore? Is it, you know, what's the take on that? Like I don't know why we've kind of gone down that road.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people had like one relationship and it was like the other person burned them, and then it's like, oh well, now I'm just gonna fucking hate life and dating too. And so then that started a lot. But also looking at like a lot of parents and stuff as I was growing up, it was grandparents didn't get divorced. Grandparents they stick it out till the end. Whereas parents started getting divorced kind of thing. And now in our day and age, I'm just like, can I I look around at most of the relationships in my life and I'm like, yeah, no, I wouldn't really want that part of it. Or I wouldn't want that part of it. And I can look apart and pick apart and I'm like, you know, they really needed to not hallmark relationships the way they did when you were little. Like they need to do it. It's effort. It's work. It's a team joint effort. You're not just going to want to be there and show up for the other person every day. There's going to be bad days and bad months, ups and downs in your life. And you got to want to work through that. And I don't think most people in the younger generations are taking the time to make those relationships to want to put the work in. They're just like, this is kind of difficult and I have someone else in my DMs, so
Well, exactly. The minute that things start getting difficult or hard, or you kind of get through that honeymoon stage, like where it's not all like, because you get to a functional part of the relationship, and like that's where, because you start off everything's hot and heavy and it's fun, it's new, it's exciting, but then you transition to a point where it's you don't have that, and now you have to cohabitate with a person, especially when you move in together. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like when you start cohabitating with somebody, that changes that dynamic considerably, because you've gone from you're in your space, I'm in mine. We kind of get ourselves ready, go see each other. Now you're existing in the same space, and everything that goes along with that. The good, the bad,
I
the
think
ugly.
my least favorite thing is pooping.
Yep.
I like that's just like bathrooms should be soundproof and there should be a his and hers on the opposite side of the house, and that will just keep so much more spice in the relationship.
There were times like lots of times I had to leave the house. Like I couldn't even be in the house. It's like, you got to leave, especially to like, well, I mean, hotel rooms are a whole other ball of wax, but hotel rooms, I have to go for an adventure. It's like,
Yeah. Go down to
like,
the lobby. Is anyone in here?
exactly. It's like, okay, I'm going on an adventure here. So that's the thing. It's like, how does a person navigate through that? And if you want it enough, that I think it's there. And I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. The whole, we look at, okay, parents separating, and then I think some people are looking at it now like, well, is it even worthwhile? Like, what do you want? And I think, in my opinion, as long as a person's transparent about what they want, is the main thing. And because I think there's so many people that think that, okay, well, I have to get into a relationship because everyone else is getting into relationships. And it's like, if that's not what you want, and if that's not what you want out of life, and you're just want to, hang out with people, do your thing, but don't expect people to wait around for you if that's where you're at. Nobody's going to be around for you. If you're just like, okay, well, I basically want to be single bachelor for the rest of my life and just have people to hang out with, and you can have all sorts of fun, but then it gets to a point where you're like, no one's going to be holding that spot for you, essentially.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
it's dating in 2024.
Yeah. It's what?
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Honestly, it's wild. I feel like now though, I'm like not even interested so much in dating, and it's not a priority for me. Tell me my DMs are not fucking getting busier as this happens. Like guys from high school, oh, like how do they even know? Like how do they know I'm like in my like living my good life? Like I'm like, oh, maybe I should just travel all next year or something. And then now all of a sudden guys are like, oh, and I'm like, where the fuck do you come from?
Because that's the way the universe works. The minute I gave up, I was like, I'm fucking done. Like I'm done with this whole dating relationship thing. I'm just gonna live my best life. I mean, at that point, I was 2021, working as a power tong hand, making decent money. I'm like, screw it. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing me. And it was no shit. Like fucking a month is when I first met up with Vicky. Like. Things progress that quickly to where I'm like, I'm done and I'm just doing me. And yeah, so the universe does that, I find.
Yeah. Well, also, you gotta be your best self if you want to attract someone who wants to be with you. Like, if you're not living a good life, why is someone gonna want to be with you? Like, if you're struggling day to day, I know, like, that's one thing that when I look at potential suitors, I'm like, okay, like, do they have a job? Do they have a car? Like, do they have goals? Do they have a good relationship with their family? That's a big one for me, is depending on your family. If you don't have a relationship with them because you've chosen to for choices that make 300%, I get that, respect that. And I have a big enough family I can fucking share. But if you're like, oh, like, some people who don't actually have the reasons to make their family not that great, and it's like, I think you might be the problem, sir.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the family. And it's how people talk about people they don't get along with, I find tells a lot about them. Because it's like with my exes, if anything, like as much as I think I deserve a lot better than them, at some points, I wasn't the best in that relationship. And looking back, I probably should have left sooner when I wasn't happy. Like there's things over the years that I'm like, oh, that's okay. And I really shouldn't have settled. And like, that's on me.
Well, and it's taking ownership. And
yeah,
if you don't take ownership for your faults, and it's always the other person, and like I said, we know the types that it's always somebody else's fault. It's always their fault. Even to like my relationship before, me and Vic got together, it's like, yeah, there was some animosity there, quite a bit of animosity there. But now it's like,
Yeah.
and then people are like, oh, are you still mad at her? It's like, we were fucking kids when we were together. Like, fucking,
Yeah.
I was 18, 19 years old. Like, no, everybody moves on and goes on to that next stage of life. And if you're still holding on to stuff, it's how do you process it? How do you deal with it? And, like you said, you can kind of tell the ones that have legitimate reasons, and then the ones that are just kind of like, I don't want to talk to these people because they didn't tell me what I wanted to hear, basically.
Yeah.
And it's I had a thought and then I lost it.
Well, with relationships, I also think it's like society tells you need to get married, buy a house, have kids. Like that's just like growing up. Though in school, they don't fucking teach you nearly enough about the having kids, buying a house, or getting married. Like all of that should be way more taught about.
But you know what they do teach you? Two-stepping. Or line dancing or whatever.
Yeah.
Line dancing.
Yeah.
You learn how to do the Cadillac Ranch.
Yeah. Like I know. Oh, bedmass. Bedmass is another one. I wish I could go back. I bet my grade 7 math teacher already knows. I have a calculator in my fucking pocket though.
The greatest fallacy. You need to learn this stuff because you're not always gonna have a calculator on you. And I was about to grab my phone to basically be like, haha, but I'm recording this on the phone, so joke's on me.
Yeah. One thing I just saw it the other day on TikTok, was they're starting to do agricultural school programs, like how they do like the soccer academy and hockey academy. They're doing agricultural academy in some small towns in Alberta. And I'm like, why was that not available when I was a kid? I would have way rather learned about like farming, growing crops, raising animals, anything than like, I don't know, cursive writing that they're not even teaching anymore. And like, I mean, my one teacher was a good watercolor artist, but like, I'm not super into art.
It's funny because they had a program. They when I was in school, they did have I forget what they called it. It was basically like a farm apprenticeship program. You would get like, you got a certificate or whatever if you've completed it. But then the big but was you had to live on a farm. Like if you didn't live on a farm, you couldn't, because it was all shit that you would do as part of your daily chores and whatnot. And when I moved out to my grandparents, I'm like, I should do this. But then I was also doing like all these other things. So it didn't end up happening. But there was something available, but not, if you didn't live on a farm or have access to it, you couldn't do the program. Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, that is so cool. Like, and the one principal of one of the schools, I think it was somewhere near Three Hills or something. And he's like, we're not really funded. Like, it's not like in the soccer academy or hockey academy where, you need to put up thousands of dollars for all the equipment, trips, training camps. It's like, our local agricultural store helped us with some product. Local farmers have given us some animals. Like, families have made small donations in different ways. And it's like it comes together and it builds the community more too.
Yep. Big
and
time.
That's like elementary school. Why isn't growing your own garden a friggin' class? Like, oh, no, we got to be better with our emissions. Let's have electric cars. Why not just growing our food at home instead of fucking driving it to my table?
Well, and that's the big thing. It's like, what can we do to be better and be more efficient? And that's something I'm a huge advocate for. And it's funny, even working in the oil field, everyone's like, oh, you must hate the thought of electric vehicles. It's like, I don't know. Like, I think of my pump jacks. I've got ones that are driven with a gas engine, either propane or natural gas, or I've got ones that use electric. I like my electric wells because guess what? They either run or they don't run. I like the thought of an electric vehicle, but we're just not there yet. We need to look at being more efficient. So let's find something that's going to be the most efficient and effective way to get to where we're going. And when I think of that, Another person I've met through TikTok was like Chase Barber and the whole Edison Motors thing, how they're doing a hybrid electric. I love that idea because it's like, okay, cool. We still have the ability to use diesel fuel to run this genset. It's an electric drivetrain. You've got an electrified vehicle that uses a generator. So you've got you don't have to find a special charging station. You're your own charging station. But because you can charge it and you're running a smaller engine, you're going to be more fuel efficient and less emissions, more efficient.
Yeah, I think he's a really neat guy. I love watching all his stuff. And even just like the way he shows us the inner workings of the government and the government grants and everything. I'm like, that's disgusting. That should not be happening. Like, it's so it's criminal how the government's run.
Well, and I was listening to his podcast because actually, like, him and Jordan Willie have their blue collar interviews, and I listened to one episode, and they were talking about the whole government thing. But they brought up a really good point. They're like, everyone's always looking at the federal government and the provincial governments. It's Trudeau, it's Danielle Smith, it's whoever. But they're like, nobody's looking at the local government. Nobody's looking at like these local governments that, it's not on such a grand scale, but some of the stuff that they get away with and some of the stuff that, goes by the wayside and nobody's looking at, if you cleaned up a lot of that shit, there would be so much more funding for other things.
Yeah.
So it's good to open up those conversations. And that's what I love about like the whole online thing is, like I said, it allows people to get into the deep conversations. It allows open up that conversation to talk about things that people wouldn't think to talk about. And you're like, that is kind of funny. That is kind of interesting. Like, why are we doing it this way? Or why are they getting away with that?
Yeah.
And it's all.
And I feel like it holds some people more accountable. Like a lot of businesses that, like, if people have a bad interaction, they're able to post their side up and it actually goes somewhere.
Absolutely. Because before it was, I remember on the 6 o'clock news, you'd have, the one special feature per night of like, the market protector, whoever, would go out and cover a story on somebody who had a bad experience with a brand or a store or whatever.
Yeah.
Now people can do that for themselves.
Yep. Yeah. Though it's also dangerous how people can make themselves like a business. My best friend signed up for this. Let's say it's like a mindful retreat for the weekend. And then she paid for it a couple months ago. It's supposed to be in October. And so a month before it, she's like, plans have changed. I got this once in a lifetime opportunity to go to Africa. Can I get a refund, please? And the chick's like, oh, no, it's not non-refundable, non-transferable. And I'm like, can you call the Better Business Bureau? She's like, well, I don't know, because she's kind of just like a chick on Instagram. And I'm like, I would fight that more. So she's like, I need a refund. Like, I'm a single mom. Or send me your terms and conditions. Because I was like, did you get a receipt? And she's like, well, kind of, yeah, but there's no writing on it. I'm like, then there's no terms and conditions. If it didn't come when you made the payment, then that's not cool. And then after a few days, the girl backpedals and says, as long as you find someone to fill the spot, you can transfer it to someone. And she's like, but you've been posting that you have a wait list for it. She's like, oh, well, there's actually not a wait list. And it's like, okay, so there's not a wait list. And you say it's not transferable, but then there is. So it's like, okay, so now there's more things that are coming out as we talk and progress. So it's like, okay, no, where are those terms and conditions? Where are they? Where were they made? But you're also going through a girl on Instagram. So it's like, how it's kind of like, like what the fuck's this?
Well, there's something going on. I mean, I'm not in book talk, but I seen there was something going on where somebody was supposed to do a review on a book. It wasn't like book talk. Like every time if people talk about book talk, it's like smutty book talk. I'm talking about like, just authors and shit. And one guy was, he was putting out a book, and there was this known book reviewer or whatever, and and basically said, hey, I'd like you to check it out. Okay, send me the thing, but send me payment. Anyway, this woman didn't do the review on the book. Kind of, he's like, okay, I was kind of hoping to have this like at launch day. Like, I want your video, your review out as this book launches to generate that hype, so that way you can get moving out the gate. And basically, it was one of those things where, and then he's, okay, I'm working on it right now, and then it never did come out. He's like, hey, well, just can you give me a refund? Well, no, I can't, because I already spent that on rent money. It's like, it goes back into like business practices, like even for what we do, like even with the merch aspect of things. Like I said, we Vic works very diligent to try and like keep the prices as low as possible. And there's times where she makes stuff at, I'm like, are you even with her own crafting business, like there's things where it's like, are you making money on that? Well, I wouldn't want people to pay X amount for this thing. It's like, you got to find that balance. I mean, you still have to make something, but as long as you're not gouging people. But even too, like, spends a lot of time like looking at the quality. And like I remember our first order of shirts was, I was told like, hey, go with the ATC. I was told ATC has good, hoodies and then t-shirts too. So we grabbed the ATC. Hoodies were good, but the shirts were like, if you held it up to the light, you could like see through it. Like the fabric wasn't like the greatest. So she's like, I wouldn't feel right using these at all. So I think we still have them, and we're just going to turn them into like stupid shirts for me, or I might make some discount Fair Steve shirts with them, but same thing. Like we're not going to charge full for that. But that's
what color are they? Are they all white?
No, they're navy.
Oh,
like,
okay. So we can't have a huge wet t-shirt contest.
Unfortunately, no. They're they were going to be like the Fire Steve, like almost like a fire department shirt. So but stuff like that where we're like, okay, well, we don't want to put out crap. And that's the big thing I find is that some people put out a poor product. They won't stand behind their product, or even anything that they do. Like if I'm making content for somebody, if I'm making a video, somebody's paying me to make a video, I'm going to be doing the best possible job that I absolutely can. When I do something like that, whereas, like you said, you get some of these people that just don't give a shit. Like they're just like, well, whatever. It's not a me problem. It's like, yeah, but you accepted payment for something that you're not honoring, or, helping people out with. Like you said, especially in the case of your friend there, like, hey, I got something else on the go. Can I, and especially too, like going through and trying to generate hype, saying that there's a wait list when there in fact isn't. It's like that's some shady bullshit.
Yeah. And like I could also appreciate it if it was less than a month away or something. But when it's more than a month away and you're saying there's a wait list, that's pretty scammy.
Yeah.
So, but that's also something she's like, I should have, like, she's like, I knew when I was first talking to the girl, like, she relates and she makes you feel thought about and heard and stuff. She's like, but now I'm not feeling very thought about or heard from her, which sucks. I was like, yeah. I was like, as much as she said she wanted what's best for you, apparently she really didn't. Because off the get-go, like, even my friend was like, even I would have been like, if she was like, oh, 50%. Okay, cool. At least there's kind of something, because it's like, oh, well, I booked this thing and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fill the spot. Or if I can fill the spot, I can give you 80% back and I'll just take 20% for administration fees. Like there was definitely better practices that could have come from it.
Exactly. Like there's a way to go about it. And that's where, if a person's doing that sort of thing, you have to have your terms and conditions. Because I mean, if you have that stuff set out the gate first and foremost, people have reviewed it. There's no arguing the fact, hey, or at the point, be very, very clear saying, okay, listen, this is a non-refundable payment. So like if you book this thing, you're not getting your money back. Right. If a person's well aware of that and made very well aware of that right out the gate, then it's like, okay, cool. Well, I was told, I was informed. It sucks, but whatever, I guess I'll eat it because, you're in the loop.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, it gives more power to the people to, you don't have to go and work for a bigger business. Like people can do their own thing. However, it's hard to gauge who's on the level and who isn't. And
Yeah. And then it's also hard to take testimonies for what they are, because you're like, okay, are you their best friend or their cousin, or did you actually have a genuinely good experience with them?
Yep.
Because depending who you talk to about me, I'm sure I would have good reviews and terrible reviews. Like, some people would call me extremely unprofessional at work, and they've never actually seen me at work, which is weird. Like,
weird.
so crazy.
Weird. Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, I'm like, how do I stay employed if I'm so unprofessional? Like, how do I get out here if I'm actually like in bed with 30 guys? Like, and also like, my, I think, favorite comment I got was one guy said I was getting more guys than they were slaughtering cows at the Brooks slaughterhouse there. They slaughter 4,000 a day. And I'm like, that's not physically possible, my dude. That is not possible. Like,
yeah, like that would be fucking. Now I kind of want to do the math on that.
how many seconds are there in a day?
I have a calculator on my iPad.
I know how many seconds there or minutes there are in a year. 525,600 minutes.
See if I can find a calculator. Oh, here we go. I got a calculator. Okay. Well, once again, it goes back to the whole math class thing. I've got a calculator.
Okay, so 6 times 6 is 36. And then times 24. I can't do that math.
How the hell was I doing this? Bear with me, people. 4,000 divided by 24. Did I do that right, or do I have to go the other way? Okay, so that would be 166.667 dudes an hour. So divide that
166. Whoa, we.
2.778 a minute.
2.78 a minute. Oh, 20 seconds each.
I mean, you got a
I've done that.
one.
Done that once.
You got a lot of one pumpers. And then we'll let's go one more time with that. Did I do that right? Okay, I wrecked my calculator. Anyway, so yeah, 2.8 a minute. So yeah, 20 seconds a piece, basically.
All right. Well, that's how you get 4,000 in a day.
That's how you get 4,000 in a day.
That doesn't seem enjoyable for anyone.
It doesn't seem fun for anybody. Like anybody involved in that. Like, what's even the point? And keep in mind, that's 24 hours a day. Like, at some point,
there's no water breaks, no pee breaks.
Just there's sipping water. Like, okay, next.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's entertaining reading some of the unhinged comments, like not even unhinged, like they're just it's so ridiculous that you're like, did you just like sit there and honestly type that? Like you had to think to yourself that I'm gonna put this out for the world to see.
Yeah.
That's what you come up with.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder how many dinner tables I've been conversations at. And I feel like it's a lot, because I know, like, it's funny when you don't know me, you're probably like, oh, she'll steal my husband. But then if you actually know me, I don't want someone else's husband. I mean, unless it's non-monogamous and we're all in it together, then maybe I want someone's husband. But I'm just like, no. Like, especially if guys are giving me the time of day when they're already in a committed relationship, why would that change if they committed to me? Yeah. Like, that's just silly. And people need to understand that I'm not the problem in that situation. The one that you're with, that you're worried about, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole thought processes, and I think it goes back to the whole, doing. Oh well, you have a spicy account. You're doing the OnlyFans. Well, that just means you want to fuck everybody, and that's not the case. Like, I don't know where people make that connection. That all of a sudden, maybe it's the fact that they're thinking, well, they think you're playing fast and loose with your morals. It's like, no, I like doing a thing, and I can make some money at it because people want to see the thing. It makes sense. It doesn't mean, like, lots of pages dedicated to people having fun with themselves and not even including anybody else. It's like, okay, I'm not fucking anybody.
Yeah.
Where you can,
Yeah.
And I think that's the attitude is like, well, yeah, you do this. Okay, fine. I mean, everybody does their own thing. I mean,
yeah. And if you're not doing it, you're probably really grumpy.
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole, like, oh, you should have had a Snickers. Well, most of those people just need to get some. Like, they just need to get off, because it's like, man, you take life too seriously. You're too fucking miserable. You're too tense. It's like, have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
And I think as things are progressing further, things are becoming more accepted. We're still not quite there yet, but it's like, hey, as long as you're not hurting somebody, you're not taking advantage of somebody, that sort of thing. Everything's consensual. Everything's above the board. Let people do what they want to do, just because, and I think people, for the most part, I mean, I can speak from experience. I mean, being younger, you don't have those conversations enough, being like, okay, what do you like? What are you into? That sort of thing, because I don't know if you're embarrassed about it, or you think that, oh, this person's going to judge me for it. It's like, no, like, if you're with somebody that you trust and whatever, have those conversations, open yourself up a little bit more, and talk about some of the things that you want to do, instead of just like shutting yourself down and being like, okay, well, I guess we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's people just need to, like you said, it doesn't need to be out in front of everybody's faces, but I mean, the fact that it's becoming more, I don't want to say mainstream, but more acceptable to, like, hey, people have sex. Like, I feel like when I was growing up, it was like, no, my parents, they don't do it. They've never done it. It's like,
yeah,
everybody does
the only time people want you to have sex, or will ask you if you're even having sex, they'll be like, oh, are you having children? Are you trying for children? And it's like, that is so wrong. That's how we grew up, is like, oh, you know what? The only time I really want to talk about your sex, and we're not even gonna actually admit we're talking about sex. We're just gonna ask if you're trying for children.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, no.
No, that's precisely it. Like, not everybody wants to have kids. Some people, I mean, some people do, some people don't.
Yeah.
But everybody likes to have sex. I mean, there's probably a few people out there that don't, but I mean, to each their own. But I would say the vast majority of people, because I mean, that's the way we're wired. I mean, it is a biological thing. However, the end result you don't have to go down that road. And the thing is to insinuate that, yeah, people are trying for kids. Oh, well, if you're sleeping together, and it's always most mundane. It's like, oh yeah, you're doing it missionary, fucking one way, you get it in, done. Everybody goes their separate way, and hopefully there's conception involved. It's like, that doesn't. Everybody's running around being like, okay, let's we have 5 minutes. Okay, let's go sneak over here.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing, and I mean, people need to stop making it as like taboo. And, oh, we don't talk about that, especially when you're talking like amongst adults and stuff like that. Like,
Oh yeah. Yep. And whenever anyone's like, oh, well, what would your future kids think? Or what about da da da? And I'm like, well, you know what? kids shouldn't even be brought into this topic. And the only time that they find out stuff is because their parents are stupid enough to be having conversations that they shouldn't be having in front of them.
Absolutely.
Like, no one under like I'm like 20 is like my like legal age in my head, and even like, or 21, but even that I'm like, that's fucking young.
Yeah.
Like, and there's the little people's ears don't need to be exposed to that.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing there is, like I said, knowing when you're having these conversations, who's the audience around, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think people bring that up because they're trying to shame you into whatever. They're like, well, I don't agree with what you're doing, so I'm going to make you feel bad about it. It's like, here's the thing. You made your decision, and that's the biggest thing. The only thing, my observation with, anybody who's looking at doing an OnlyFans or anything like that is, everyone's like, oh, well, 18. It's like, no, I think you need to like be mature enough to realize exactly what you're doing, the implications of everything. Like, you're making a big decision to put yourself out there, because once it's out there, it's out there. Even though you can say, okay, yeah, no, we put up the disclaimer saying, this is my copyrighted material, no one can take it. We don't know what the hell happens with it. Like all my stuff, like I said, all my stuff got scrubbed, but is it really gone? I don't know. Probably not. Yeah. I'm operating under the presumption that there's something out there, and it's like, whatever. I mean, I made that call when I decided to do it. And that's the biggest thing that anybody getting into it has to realize. It's like, because not everybody's going to be successful at it either. And you're still putting yourself out there. You're still taking that step forward. You're not going to be able to make a go of it. It's like making regular content on TikTok or Instagram. If you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to experience any of the benefits of it. So you have to make that decision whether you're going to take that step forward and put yourself out publicly. But it's also understanding that, hey, your face is out there. And then even too, like I said, you talk about doing, OnlyFans or any sort of a spicy page where it's like, you're really out there. And as long as you understand what it's about and the decision you're making, you're an adult. You can make that call.
Yeah, totally. And I also don't like getting into the adult industry in any way you do it. I don't recommend it. It's not an easy one to do. And I really appreciate the bigger creators that stress that and whatnot. And they're like, think about your future. Like, and that's one thing that I realize and I know. And like, my stuff's out there. I have people impersonating me, asking for money for my medical bills. And I'm like, what fucking medical bills? I live in Canada and I am healthy as a horse, as you can see online. You think if I was unhealthy, I wouldn't like set up a GoFundMe or like make it known? Like, I wouldn't just secretly message you from a weird DM. But then it's just people who want to believe it's the truth. So it's kind of like, okay, if you really look at the big picture, you should be able to figure it out.
It gets back in the online safety thing, and people have to be aware that there are these scam accounts. I even have a fucking fake account. Like there's that Fire Steve backup account that appeared on TikTok, and I had so many people like, "Is this you?" I'm like, "It's not me." I'm like, I made a video about it.
Yeah.
And like one of those things is asking people like, "Oh, you're a fan of my content? Hey, can you send me money?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course they fucking asking for money."
Yeah.
But it's very much one of those things where, once again, people can message me. Like, I have my stuff, fairly open, but at the same time, too, people have to be smart about it.
Yeah.
Now, this person's never interacted with me, and then all of a sudden, boom. And I think people want to believe that it's you messaging them because it's like, ooh, I can talk to you. However, you have to think realistically. Have you any inkling beyond that? Like, have they and also too, it's just the way a lot of these, because I mean, it's usually people messaging from other countries, so the English isn't quite there. Like it's English, but it's very much, I very much appreciate your time, and it's like, I don't talk like that.
Yeah. I one time had one of the spam accounts. I messaged them. I'm like, can you not use my content just to see different approach? And they were like, hey, there I am. uh, but they were like, oh, I need money for school, da da da. And I'm like, go figure it out on your own. Go use your own face, make your own content.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, figure out your own shit.
How many? Okay, this is probably an answer you don't know, but how many fake accounts that you can think of? Like, how many? What would be the number if you had to guess? Like, how many fake accounts between Instagram, TikTok over the past?
Just TikTok alone, if I did a search right now, I could probably find 20.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but they kind of, the ones that it really comes down to numbers. Is TikTok, the ones that have any traction have followed 5,000 people, and they only have maybe 1,000 following them back. So I'm like, look at those numbers, people. Look at all my active accounts. I have maybe 1,000 people that I follow, not because I'm an asshole, but just because I try to keep my friends and the content I want to see on my page. Like, I am a friendly person. I'll say hi to you in my comments. Like, I'll chat with you as much as I can. But when it comes down to it, like, I want my For You page to be the friends that I've made, and then just like hot bitches with big tits and stuff, you know? Like, I'm
Nice.
not, I got a type. I like
Yeah.
the type too. Like, there was one day I was like, what is this? Like, I think I went back and screen recorded my phone because it was just like Instagram reels. There was like 15 beautiful ladies back to back. And I was like, damn, today is a good day.
It's a good day to scroll Instagram. My Instagram feed is, my TikTok feed is all over the map. My Instagram feed, it's either like car wrecks, like, or it's dirty stuff. Like, it's like adult humor, like to the max. Like, yeah, pretty much it's like, okay, Instagram's got me seeing this stuff, and TikTok, at least the polarizing shit's died off. Like, I'm not getting so much of the political stuff. I usually just get like the most random whatever on TikTok, like the burger family theory, conspiracy theory, where the whole like, the teen was adopted, but I've got my theory on it.
Yeah, I like conspiracy theories and stuff, or like the Mandela effects.
I like stupid. I like taking a conspiracy theory. I like stupid ones. Like, so I like diving down the rabbit hole every once in a while and like finding something interesting. But for the most part, like I said, when I came up with the whole burger, Uncle Burger thing being it does make sense though. I guarantee you, Uncle Burger is the father of the burger kids.
I want to know who made up the burger family. Like, I need to do a little bit more research into this and ask, because I really I want to know that dynamic now.
Well, and I've got some videos planned too, because I want to roll in some other, like, because we got the Buddy Burgers, we got we got the Matzo Burger, which the Matzo Burger doesn't have like a face attached to it, but I think the Matzo Burger went no contact with the family because it knew that, Papa Burger wasn't the father. That's my theory. I'm gonna blow up this whole A&W thing, and then go get an A&W burger and be like, hey, do you guys know anything?
Can I talk to your manager? I need some questions answered.
What's your knowledge of the Burger family?
Yeah. What's corporate say about the relations?
What are they saying? Like, what's coming down? What's in the corporate memo? Like, I need something with some official letterhead from A&W telling me specifically what. I can't keep a straight face talking about it. But going back to like what you were saying there, with you don't need to add everybody back, and I think that's the thing. I think a lot of people are like, well, you didn't add me, and it's like, here's the thing: you view the content you want to, you add the people that you want to add, and you can only follow so many people back, and at the same time too, you curate your FYP and your feed to what you want to see.
Yeah.
And if a person's usually like, I mean, I definitely follow a lot of random people back and stuff like that. And I mean, there's times I go into lives and usually I won't unfollow somebody that I'm mutuals with, but if I follow somebody and their content's meh, like they were kind of a friend of a friend and I followed them and they haven't followed me back, I usually, okay, I'm not really here for that, and then I'll unfollow. But usually, like I said, if I get a follow back, it takes a lot for me to be like, yeah, I'm not checking out your. It has happened, but
Yeah.
Usually I'll be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll leave that person there unless it's like really shitty, and then it's like, yeah, I can't deal with your dramatic bullshit.
Yeah. I find the only time I don't really want to see people is if it's like all sad and depressing stuff. I'm like, I can't do that. I need happy in my life. I'm an empath. Like, I feel like fucking what I see so much. So I'm like, I just need positive, happy people. But then I also, like with your stuff, I really enjoy your informative stuff. And then it's also crazy how people who are not in the oil field have no idea. So, like, they appreciate the informative stuff
Yeah.
that you get to learn.
Well, and that's the big thing. I think like I don't really have a niche. I've got a couple that I've like that I kind of stick around, but to say like, okay, here's where I fit in, it's like I'm all over the map. And
Yeah.
at one point I'm like, I know I would blow up a lot better if I stuck to doing one thing and one thing well. But here's the thing, it's a reflection of my personality. And I would rather people like me for me rather than, well, we like Steve for being the oil field guy, or we like Steve for being the fire guy, or we like Steve for, because then something changes. You know, let's say all my content, like let's say I stuck with the oil field and the oil field alone, and then I left, I went fire. Then that's it. Like I don't have content anymore because I'm not existing in that world anymore. So I like to basically have, here's my personality, and I hope that the people that follow along will, you know, get exposed to something like, okay, if you follow me for the fire stuff, well, maybe you'll learn a thing or two about the oil field, or maybe, you know, I've had people that follow me to get informed about the wildfires, and then they found my humor and they're like, you brighten up my day. Like you give me a laugh. And
Yeah. I know, like yesterday with the Uncle Burger, I was going to stitch you talking about the sirloin patty or something when you started making all your meat jokes. And then I don't think Stitch was the option. So I was like, you know what? This kind of works because we're going to be hanging out tomorrow. So I'm going to just do this. And like, I've had like sometimes like it'll be a duet that goes good for me. And I'm like sitting there doing nothing. And I'm like, whatever, like I'm happy because it's still pushing your content.
Absolutely.
And that's the one thing I hate is when I see people like watching a car or something and just like doing one of those mindless, like kind of visually satisfying stuff beside like a big creator that's known. And I'm like, they're just fucking stealing their content.
Yeah. If you're engaging with it, you're adding to it, you're bringing something. And even if it's something you find interesting, it's, you know, those ones that are just absolute like bullshit accounts. And, you know, like you said, it's the 5-minute craft video alongside a bigger creator. It's like, yeah, they're just trying to get the views, and usually something has to do with the creator fund and blah, blah, blah. But, and yeah, you wouldn't have been able to stitch that one because you can't stitch a stitch.
Yeah.
Because I already stitched that one. Because I thought about it too. I'm like, well, because I could have downloaded it and then reposted it, and then just tagged the original creator. But then you're kind of going through. I'm just like, whatever. I'm like, I already filmed it. I'm just gonna post it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I try to provide a little bit of everything. I got some stuff. I'm going to be diving into some more mental health stuff here because I've got it's something I've been planning for a while, and I've been kind of like procrastinating on it because it's like, okay, I know once I start opening that up, it's going to be a deeper subject, and then the comments get a little bit more intense. So that's why I was like, okay, I'll post some humorous shit for now, but you know,
because you want to make sure you're in like a good headspace when you're talking about that, because you know when you open that up, you're going to get people who are going to be leaning on you and ask for advice and stuff. And that's one thing. I like Jessie Switch. She's always had a good resource of men's mental health. She's got like a link tree, I think, or something on her Instagram or whatnot. And she's always advocated for men's mental health. And I love that because I'm like, I personally, I can't do much for men's mental health, but I can pass on the resources and stuff. And like, the best thing to do is say to talk about it, but it's also for those guys to find it ear to talk. I know it's hard.
Well, and that's the thing, especially being in the blue collar industries and stuff like that, like being able to open up and talk about things. And because it's always seen as, well, it's a sign of weakness. And it's like, no, we got to change. We got to flip the script on that and say, no, it's a sign of strength that you're able to talk about things before it gets too far.
Yeah.
Big thing I wanted to talk about, like I said, this month too, and I'll be doing something before the end of the month because it is Suicide Prevention Month. It's something that affects everybody, and that's the biggest thing, is just opening up that conversation. Because I haven't seen, but I've been in the areas where, you know, people go to work and they don't come home because the stress got to them and they didn't know what to do about it. They didn't talk about it. They didn't open up. But to see them, they were like, you know, friendly, happy. You wouldn't have known anything was off. I mean, from a professional standpoint, and you know, anything it could do to help combat that and fight that, and you know, help people find that strength. And that's why, like, for myself, I try to do it where, you know, I'm me, and then, you know, people look at someone with, you know, X amount of followers and be like, oh, well, you must have your shit together. You know, you got X amount of followers, you know, you got an account that's blowing up. Okay. But I'm still a person. And I want people to look at it and say, okay, well, if you're having, if I'm having issues, you know, well, it's okay for me to feel too, because if this person who the perception, because I was there at one point where I'd look at anybody who had like above 10,000 followers, I'm like, oh, they must have their life together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also people with money, it's like, oh, you know, if I had $1 million, I probably wouldn't be sad. But, you know, that's also, I thought if I made 6 figures a year, like I would make so much money. And then I did that and I was like, where the fuck did it go? Where did it go? Where? Still don't know.
And it doesn't make you happier too. The thing is, it's
No.
experiences you have and the things that, you know, having a quality of life is a lot better than having it. You can have all the money in the world and it ain't gonna mean shit, because if you don't have, if you're not enjoying yourself, and that's the thing, I find people will kill themselves, you know, stress themselves out, working crazy hours, taking on all these projects, and they get to the point where they're a shell of themselves. Yeah, their bank account is padded and they get to go on this fancy trip once a year, twice a year, whatever. But you're so wound up all the time that you don't have the opportunity to relax, and then it burns you out.
Yep. And it's sad that it's like, oh, well, when you retire, you can enjoy life. And it's like, well, what if you don't make it to retirement? Or like, what if you just spent all your good years working away and not enjoying any of those moments?
100%. That's one thing as silly as it seems, me coming online, it forced me to slow down in other areas. I was one who I would, you know, always be looking at, well, what else can I do for work? What other thing can I add? What other piece of equipment can I buy and leverage it and do this? And that's what I spent a lot of I mean, obviously there was family time and stuff like that as well, but that's what I would spend my spare time doing.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you know, creating content and doing the podcast and doing things like that. I mean, it definitely takes time, but it's something that's enjoyable. It's something that I find that, you know, I'm not in that grind mode where it allows me to be more social. It allows me to interact with people more and have a little bit more fun, I guess it would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like, when I started on TikTok as a whim 3 years ago, yeah, it's been 3 years now, I didn't think it would end up where it has. And I mean, still don't know what the future holds, but we'll see what happens in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. But you know, the one thing that will always remain are, like, the bonds and relationships that we made through the process.
Yeah.
And you know, hanging out with you, like, and anybody asks, she's the same bubbly person in person that she is online all the time.
I'm glad you think that.
Like, I'm sure you're human. I'm sure you have your days too, but yeah, like you're always so cheery, and you know the fact that you're a friend to not only myself, but I mean a friend to Vic too. That I mean, like I said, a friend to both of us is awesome, and we super appreciate you and all that.
I appreciate you guys. And yeah, that's one thing I really love from the internet is the genuine friends I've made. And like your guys' kids are really freaking cool.
They are pretty cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Everyone's like, oh, I got cool kids. Like, my kids are like Brooke. I mean, I don't. The younger two haven't made their debut yet, so we just say the other two. But I mean,
Yeah.
Brooke, she was on the 4th episode of the podcast, and you know, she is funny. Like, she gives me like when she gets to the age where she starts like doing stuff online, if that's the path that she chooses or whatever, so she's gonna come up with some hilarious shit. Like, cause she can zing anybody. Like, she'll come up with some, like, she burns me all the time, better than Vicky does even.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun seeing them grow and come into their own, and seeing what she's gonna come up with. Like, even the parodies she's done of me and whatever.
Yeah.
So many people still talk about those videos.
Oh yeah, they're my favorite.
But no, it's a lot of fun, and that's the thing. I would say, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's a lot more. It's been a lot more positive than negative. I mean, obviously, yeah, we deal with the trolls and the idiots online, but I'll deal with all that shit for all the good that it's brought.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, it's been. I'm glad you were able to pop on and come have a chat. We definitely squirreled a whole pile of times as we typically do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one last thing here that I forgot to do earlier. So one thing I started doing with the podcast was because TikTok has that subscription thing, or I mean, people who support me in some way, shape, or form above and beyond. I like to give them a shout out. So the TikTok subs I have are, there's Wendy, there's wendy.over.ca, there's Red Flag Sasha, Karen Hagen 44, and Hose Monkey 208. So appreciate you guys for subscribing and helping support you know, my TikTok adventure, the podcast, and whatever shenanigans I come up with, because good Lord, there's so many of them. And yeah, if anybody, I mean, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see our smiling faces. You'll see all the usernames there. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, all that sort of thing, we appreciate everybody over there. Emma, where can people find you? Where it's plug all your socials.
I generally just say Google Emma Stoned in the social you want, or Emma Stone 420 is my link tree. And from there you can kind of go. But I have, if you find me on one platform, they're all linked together. So if they're not linked to my other one, or they don't have more followers, or if I don't have more of a following than followers, chances are it's not me. But yeah,
beware the fake scammy accounts.
Yeah. And then Instagram is Emma Stone 42 and the letter O.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
One question I asked my last guest, and before I let you go, if you had a time machine and there's one trend that could just disappear forever, what trend would that be? Is there one that you're just like, this was stupid? Like, why were people doing this?
Not that I can think of. Yeah, no.
No?
But like I'm like, the stupider the trend, I usually get into it. Like, look at me in my silly little dance. I was like, I think I started that 3 years ago now.
I
I just can't stop.
I love that. I mean, I haven't had to pay homage to it. We still have to do it together at one point.
Oh,
Like so
next safety meeting, I'm thinking about planning, or like I think maybe next summer I want to do like a camping trip or some sort of like day where a bunch of friends can get together and interact and do the dance.
I think that would be great because you definitely made it iconic to the point where, and then I like it too, where because it's like everyone's trying to guess specifically which one you're at, and they all look the same for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
So
I know. And if they don't look the same, then I pick the one part that does. Like I will go just straight up to one pump, and I'm pretty aware of what's in the background when I film. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'll leave that there. If you find it, I'll let you find it. But then I'll generally go and delete your comment if you talk about it.
I'm hiding this. Speaking of things going missing, and I know we were kind of working our way to wrap it up. Your stickers. Your stickers I've had to replace so many freaking times because I've got locations where I've got the Fire Steve sticker. So I've got the Walmart in Slave Lake. I've got a Fire Pickle there. And then I've got the Fire Steve sticker. And then we put one of your stickers up and it went missing. I mean, that's when all the truck drivers were parking there. So that's kind of where I'm assuming that went. And then we replaced it, and that one's still there. But the Costco in St. Albert, your sticker, like we went there last week and it was gone again. And we just replaced it like 3 months prior, if that.
So a little part of me is like, I hope it's some guy taking it. But then I also feel like it could be a salty bitch who's like, oh, I don't want her face here.
Could be.
But you know what? I don't care either way. Either way, someone's thinking about me.
Either way, I've still got a whole stack of them. So it's just going to be like.
I know. I was like, I literally have so fucking many. Like, I don't even know what to do with them. So I don't know. It's like, pay for your own postage and I'll mail you some. Anyone? Really?
Anybody want some stickers? I mean, we got I've got Fire Steve stickers too. And I just dropped one. I dropped the only Fire one. But I got these are the hard hat ones. And if anybody's interested in stickers, check out Fire Steve. Instagram's the best place to check it out, or Electric Treasure Craft. Stuff on the Etsy page there. But on that note, I appreciate you coming on. It was great chatting. We definitely, I didn't know how long we were going to go tonight, but I'm laughing because Vic hates the fact of that they're longer podcasts. She's like, I can't sit through a 2-hour episode. So the fact that we went 2.5 hours, and she's going to watch this one.
Oh yeah. I'm like, this is the one she'll be like sitting through.
Yeah, there's been a couple I think she watched, but she's like, when I tell her how long this one is, she's gonna be like, really?
There's just so much to talk about.
and there will be more to talk about because I'll definitely bring you on again at some point. But I mean, like I said, we're definitely looking forward to you in episode 100. But if not before then, for sure.
Ooh, maybe 69 might work out.
69 might work out very well.
Pencil me in.
Coming back for 69. All right.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And to everybody listening in, thank you very much for tuning into. This has been some more Blazing Banter with Fire Steve, where we talk about fire stuff, oil field stuff, social media stuff, and just whatever my guest wants to talk about. But anyway, have a great day, great evening, and have a good one, everyone. Bye for now.